Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate it. Um, Today we're going to do three different kind of unusual earrings. I occasionally get a request from someone who has gauged ears to do kind of a gauge cover-up where it looks like a traditional earring. So I was going to show you a way to create that kind of an earring first, and then the second style is going to be a post that's attached to an ear cuff, actually, with a chain between them. So I'm actually going to put two chains, so that should be kind of fun. I think I'm just going to do it for one ear, and then the other ear will just have a matching post. The third one is going to be behind the ear mount kind of earring, so the primary design will be sticking out from behind the earlobe. And I've made one or two of those before, and I kind of like the way they look, and they're kind of fun and different. So we'll be doing those. Prior to getting started, I need to say a few things. One, somebody recently brought up to me that I don't talk much about safety, and I should probably. Back when I first started the channel, I made a video about safety. In fact, that was my very first video, and it's so far back that it's probably hard to find unless you specifically look for it. So at some point in the near future, I'll make a new safety video that's easier to reference and probably has far better editing and sound quality. So I'll do that pretty soon. But for the time being, when you're getting ready to work in your shop, make sure you have good safety practices, because your safety is of paramount importance. So take care of yourself first and then have fun second. Before we get into the video, I want to thank a couple of groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I love the group that's over there. I'd love it if you'd join that group, but I do want to thank them for creating such a nice environment where we can all kind of share ideas and pieces we've made. It's just a nice place, so I want to thank them for making it that way. Thank you guys. The second group is my YouTube subscribers, who we just recently passed 10,000, and we're heading on to our next benchmark. And I can't express how much I appreciate all of the kind things that you say in the comments. Sometimes I'm very moved by what you say, and I get a little case of imposter syndrome because you say such nice things about me. But thank you for that, and also thank you for the nice contributions. They really, like when you buy me a coffee or the super thanks, those things really help with supplies and stuff, so that helps out a lot. With those thanks being said, let's get started on these projects. These are a couple of my design idea books, and I use these frequently anymore. I didn't used to draw everything up when I was coming up with ideas. I just would kind of play and come up with stuff, but I found that my outcomes are much better if I have a little plan in mind. So these notebooks are great for that, and they're available on my merch store and with a whole bunch of different cover styles. I'll put a couple of the other ones up in the video at the top of the video, so check those out. So the first ones we're going to do are the earrings where we make a way to deal with gauged ear holes. And I picked a couple of turquoises. Turquoise? What's the plural of turquoise? Turquoises? They both have a nice little matrixy pattern that's maybe hard to see on the video, but it's very pretty, I think. And I made a couple of bezels for them, and I'm going to show you how I make backs for them that'll work with gauged ears. So the first thing you need to do, though, is to probably borrow an earring from the person you're making them for to find out what gauge they have it at, so you have something to compare the size of a piece we're going to put on the back so it fits right with their ear holes. Let's see, second one, we're going to do the one where you have a post with something dangling and then an ear cuff up top with a chain between it. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you recognize that as something that was in one of the series, Deep Space Nine, as one of the species there wore those all the time. And my wife is a Star Trek nerd, so hence this one's included in the list. Third, I wanted to do a behind the ear earring, and I was experimenting with a couple of different styles. I thought about doing some filigree kind of thing. This one kind of, I was thinking like a slice of an orange, and I actually made one of those as a prototype, and I didn't really care for it, so I'm going to discard that idea for now. Finally, I settled on this one here, and I like this one. I think that's going to be a fun one. So this will actually be behind the earlobe, and on the front they're soaking in the pickle. I already made those, but I'm going to make one of these in front of you. There'll be a post that goes through there, and so you'll only see the front of the post, and then this will be sticking out from behind the ear and held in place with a big wide rubber ear nut. So that should be fun. Let's get started with making the backs for these. If you're interested in learning how to make a bezel and you haven't done that before, I have a video about that. You should check that out. So I want these, the backs of these things, I want them to be mounted kind of on one side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I measured the thickness of my earlobe actually to do this, 4.5 millimeters. So I'm going to make these about 5 millimeters tall. And then I think I'm going to use a piece of 20 gauge to create a lip on the back. And then we'll just mount those. Alright, and I have a little bit of silver strip that I'm going to use for this. So, this was actually taller than I was going to do, so I measured it out to 5 millimeters and I scribed a line with my little scribe here. So we'll cut that off and then we'll make a couple of tubes. And I'm going to make an arbitrary size, probably about a 4 millimeter tube as well. So we'll make it about that wide, maybe 5. But either way, we'll start by cutting this off here. Should we use geometry to figure this out? If I want a 4 millimeter diameter tube, I'm going to multiply it times pi, right? Pi times diameter equals circumference. 16, right? That's a 6. And that'll be 5. 3 times 4 is 12. So 12.56. So 12.5 millimeters. I'm going to take it up to 13 just to get a little bit rounded over. Try to get these edges nice and flat. Probably just buy some pre-made tubes too in different sizes. That would work as well, I would imagine. I'll use my bail making pliers to kind of get them started on the shape. The strip is probably 24 gauge. I don't know. I've had it in a drawer for a while. I haven't used it. So. Try to get these lined up pretty flat, and then I'll round it out after it's soldered. If you haven't been to my videos before, I use hard silver sheet solder for most everything, and a liquid flux called My-T-Flux. My torch is a Smith acetylene air torch called the Silversmith model. Great torch. Using it for many years. Alright, I'm just cutting a little bit of solder right now. One of the things I do also is I do pick soldering, where I pick this up and I'll place it where I want it to go. I find it to be a useful skill. I have a video about it if you're interested. I'll put a link up there for you. If you don't have any bail making pliers, I think they're a very useful tool. These are bail making pliers that have different size cylinders on them. Having one of those word retrieval problem days. So I'll try in this video not to call everything thing or whatchamacallit. Those look pretty good. We'll file them a bit. If you're someone who has one, you can use your miter vise jig to get these nice and flat. I've just been doing it this way for so long that it's pretty easy for me to get a nice flat one that way. So I think I'm going to make 20 gauge rings to go around the outside of this. I have a little bit of 20 gauge right here. One of these is pretty close to this. I'm going to use this one here, make a couple of loops, and then we'll fine tune the size. So I'm going to solder that closed with just a little tiny piece of solder, and then we'll get this pushed into it, and then we'll solder the two together. Alright, so we got that right on the base there. I'll probably file that a little flatter. Alright, so I'm going to do the other one real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, I picked a spot on the backs of these bezels where I kind of wanted these to go. And I tried to get them about the same spot on the back of each. Wanted them offset so that one side would hang down always. I think those are about the right spots. I'm just going to plop a piece right down the smokestack there. I'm thinking if I heat this bezel, but make sure and also get that tube hot, it should just kind of flow, and then we should have that stuck down nicely. And when it does flow, you can see that little seam of liquid solder flowing around the outside. So if you don't see that, it probably hasn't flowed. Or at least flowed where you wanted it to go. Those look pretty good. I'm going to let those pickle, and we can start work on the second pair. Really is going to involve 2 post earrings with a loop, and then a loop on top of a little kind of pointy thing with a silver ball. And so let's make those little pointy things with silver balls first. This is 12 gauge or 10 gauge, half round, I'm not sure which, but it's about the right size. So I think I'm going to file it to a point and then cut off a piece and then do the same thing again. Pretty close. So let me make a couple little balls. Pick up a little bit of solder. Now, with some of this 20 gauge, let's make some little tiny jump rings. Here's a couple of posts I made in advance for these. So I'm going to put a flat link laying down that way, and then one sticking out same direction. And then I'll be connecting those with a third one that will also be where the chain connects to the ear cuff. Let's solder these closed first, and then I'll solder them to those. The only bad thing about magnesia blocks is part of the piece is buried in there. And if you've been doing this for a while, you know that it's difficult to get solder to flow as easily if you can't get the entire piece up to the soldering temperature for a good solid solder joint. Let me add a little bit of extra solder in there too. You could probably do these without soldering them, but I'm not going to solder the chain loops onto this, but I do kind of want these to be all one piece. So, if you need to, you can use easy solder on this stage. So I'm just going to point that upright like that and see if we can't pick solder that real quick. Good thing on these ones is I don't really want anything else to, oops, I don't want anything to flow except for the ring in the middle when I solder that. So I'm not sure if you can see it with the camera angle that I have, but the opening for the solder joint is right there and right there, so I'll just pick up a little piece and do both of those. But I'm going to cut some fresh because I don't see much left. So we'll let those pieces pickle. Let's make ourselves a little ear cuff. I think I'm going to use some 22 gauge sheet to make the ear cuff. .28 millimeters or so. Maybe like 7 millimeters. I like that. We can maybe put a few decorations on there too. I think I'm going to use a little bit of 20 gauge to make some decorations on there. Is it perfect? Probably not. Is it pretty close? Yeah. You need to, and I think I might need to on this one. The middle one didn't look like it soldered down as well as I would like. I picked up a piece of sterling by accident. One other thing I was going to do is drop a loop off of here to connect the chains to. So let's do that. I'll put a link up here. I did another Star Trek theme piece a while back. It's a comm badge at my wife's urging. So there's a link to that one if you want to check it out. So this will be my ear cuff, and now it's got a loop to hang a chain off there. So I'm going to let that pickle. It'll be easier to polish while it's flat like this, so I'm going to leave it flat for the moment, and then I'll shape it into a circle afterwards, maybe around the jump ring mandrel or something, or the bail making pliers. And then after everything's all polished up, I'll connect it with a couple of chains, and I'll show you. So throw this in the pickle for a while. We'll get to work on the third one. And so I've cut a ring that's 18 gauge, and I wrapped it around a piece of 14 gauge to make a small ring. And then these are chunks of 14 gauge that I'm going to solder to this ring, kind of in a spray pattern like that. I tried to get the top one the same length as this. The other ones should be a little bit longer than they need to be, so I can cut them down. But I'm going to go ahead and solder these on. I did do some back of the earlobe earrings before. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link up there for it. There were more, I think it was 3 different kinds of earrings that had a flower motif. And so I did some kind of petals that stuck out. I'm going to do these kind of one at a time, so I'm going to scoot these ones out of the way. Sometimes it's nice to make a prototype before I do one of these videos to make sure everything goes smoothly. Somebody said in a comment that I need to be more authoritative about how I say things, but sometimes I'm doing things I've not done exactly before, and so I want to give the impression that I'm infallible or something, because I'm not. That's pretty close. This one should be pointed a little bit more this way. Now I have to figure out where to cut them off so they're the same. That looks pretty good. So this one's going to go this way. This one's got to go this way. And I made some more little balls, so these are ready to go. I think we're good. Okay, I'm going to let those pickle. I will, let me real quick show you what this is what the little posts are going to be. So this will go through the ear, that'll go behind the earlobe, and then we'll put an ear nut on the back to hold it all in place. But I'm going to let these pickle for a bit, and I'll probably start cleaning up the other ones while I'm doing that. So I'll be right back and we'll show you the final product. So I got everything all finished up. It's got that back part you can pop through a gauged hole. So this came out pretty nice, I think. Second one, we got, there's the one side here, and then the other side. Which will hang like that, kind of. It's hard to demonstrate this until it's on, but a little ear cuff. It'll hang from there. And then of course these things, and you can't really, without an earlobe in there, you can't really show how they're going to look, but I think they'll look pretty cool. So I'll try and figure out a way to get some good pictures of those, and then we'll call it a day. Alright, well that was 3 different fun earring types. I hope that you enjoyed it and got something from it, and if you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And check out some of my other videos. I have a lot of content now. I've passed 300 videos, and there's something for everybody here, I think. So check out a few more and then subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. You can hit the notification button and you'll find that I put out 3 videos per week, and so I have a lot of new content all the time. So check that out and subscribe. The other thing you should do is visit the video description down below. There's some important links down there. One, there's a link to my website where you can buy some jewelry, and you know you deserve some, so you should go there and do that. Second, there's a link to my merch store. If you want to get yourself a nice funny coffee mug or one of those design idea books I showed you at the beginning. There's another link to buy me a coffee if you want to help me out with a little bit of supply money. And finally, there's a link to my Patreon if you want to get a little bit more involved and find out what that's about. So check those out. Come back and see me again. Take care. Happy silversmithing.